Hi, it's Greg Levine. This is the party line for, let's call it November 18th, although it might be the 19th by the time some of you get to see this. I'm getting a little bit of a late start today, and there's all that uploading time, of course. I want to talk today. I want to talk today before I write. I've been lately writing the posts and then talking about them in the video. But I found that when I post a video with a post, most people don't watch the video. But the reverse problem is that when I post a video without a post, I don't get any links because you can't really quote like a video. So it's a conundrum. So what I'm going to do is I'm still actually working out my thoughts on this subject. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about them now, and as I get some more facts in, I'll put up a post. I'll link to it at the bottom below this video. I might toss in a couple of pictures too, depending on how fast the internets are tonight. But anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about the week with the Occupy movement. Some of you might have noticed a little post I did on the 15th. It was the morning after the police raid on Zuccotti Park that broke up the encampment here in New York City, and I was up fretting that I wasn't down there, and fretting that there was nothing I could do, and frustrated, and listening to a radio program that's broadcast here called The Takeaway. It's a collaboration between WNYC and BBC and the New York Times, and I don't think very many people listen to it. It's a mixed bag, honestly. But they played a clip of an interview that Oakland Mayor Jean Quan did with the BBC. I swear I still, several days later, cannot find the full original interview with a link on any BBC website. But they played a little clip of it, and in the context of other things, it was there that Jean Quan just happened to mention that she was on this phone call with mayors from 18 other cities. That made my ears perk up a little bit. It wasn't like an incredible aha moment, because we all sort of knew that with all these things happening at the same time, somebody was talking to somebody, but no one had said it out loud. So I waited until the audio went online, and I transcribed the salient parts, and I put it in a little post, and kabong! My ears were burning all day. I honestly have never written a post with even a fraction of that much attention, which is cool, right? But it wasn't all I wanted to do on the story, because knowing that was fine, but like I said, it was more of a well, of course, than a aha, gotcha kind of moment. I wanted to know what was on those tapes, in those calls, what was said in those calls. Were they taped? Were they transcribed? There must be something. Was it just mayors? Were there federal officials there? These are questions that everyone is asking, and there's been a lot of hypothesizing since. We've seen a post in something called The Examiner that has an anonymous DOJ official talking on Deep Background, saying that there was some sort of federal coordination. It's kind of as close as we've gotten on that. But there are lots of sort of angles to go off in this. It turns out there's several different groups of calls. There's the mayor, the national I'm going to space on the name, the National Council of Mayors. There's a monthly call that mayors are invited to. I don't know if Jean Quan's going to be invited to them anymore. But there also have been talks amongst police executives since the beginning, at least, of the Occupy movement, probably before, through an organization called PERF, the Police Executive Research Forum, trying to find out more about them. There's a little bit about them in an article, a Friday article in the San Francisco Bay Guardian. Looking for a little more before I write this all up. There's also a lot of other organizations that probably provided the forum, if we don't yet have the actual links to, conversations between city organizations in the major Occupy cities, if not between the cities and the federal government. And this all sort of leads me to sort of my if not aha, which is that how you get this paradox of, well, duh, and aha, conspiracy, or at least collusion, is that the collusion is baked into the system. You know, all of that sort of ugly, uncomfortable federal, state-to-state interplay kind of comes with the system that we have developed in this country since 9/11, and thus you get this duh. Now, sometime back before the 9/11 reforms to our national security state, this all would have been considered quite horrific, honestly. I mean, after the exposing of COINTELPRO and various other domestic programs that were spying on lawful activities amongst dissident groups in the United States, there were a series of reforms both at the federal and in various state police organizations, city and state police organizations that were supposed to prevent this. It's not really cool for the United States government to spy domestically on United States citizens. There was supposed to be a nice wall between the sort of intel work that we did abroad via the CIA and the police crime-stopping work that we did domestically with the Department of Justice, the FBI, and state and local police. Because we were so upset about the siloing after 9/11, we have taken down some of those walls. We've allowed a lot more conversation to the extent that you know, you even get the situations like you have here in New York City, where New York has essentially built this uber-intense security organization where you had a guy sitting in the offices, Ray Kelly, NYPD police commissioner, sitting with him, who was kind of holding dual citizenship between the Central Intelligence Agency and the NYPD, and when he was informed you can't really do that, he chose to stay with the NYPD because there's less oversight. So you have that kind of situation, but what I'm getting at is that, of course, there's going to be coordination, collusion, talk. It's like it's part of our system now. That's not a good thing, but it takes away a little bit of the, like, look what they're doing suddenly, all of a sudden now. The other thing I want to say, and it's related to this, is that I think Digby referred to it in a post called "If You Build It." I actually use a slightly older film reference, which is "Show a gun, gotta use it." I should look it up. I think that's Hitchcock. Basically, the idea is that if you introduce a plastic element, you better be prepared to make it pay. And pretty much in any film that works effectively, if you show a gun at some point later in that film, that gun comes into play. Digby's also a film reference. If you build it, they will come. But the point is that we have now created these toys, and security forces, be they local police or the federal government, really wants to play with their toys. And so Occupy gives them a really good opportunity to test some of this stuff out. And you shouldn't be surprised. You should be horrified. You should be angry. You should use this as a motivation to not only restore economic justice, which is the mantra of the Occupy movement, but to restore civil justice, civil rights, First Amendment rights, constitutional rights, because, as it turns out, they kind of go hand in hand, don't they? I'll be writing more about this. I'll be posting links. But until next time, that's the party line. Thanks for listening.